Hey everyone, so as Alex said, I'm Zachary, also known as Young Beef. I'm the content lead and community manager for Subsocial. Today we're going to be talking about open social graphs and walled gardens and how we can escape those. Before we dive in real quick though, I'll explain these terms. So you can basically think of a social graph as all of your digital connections, so your friends, your followers, subscribers, patrons, that sort of thing. And a walled garden is basically a term we use for these Web 2 companies like Facebook and Instagram. You can think of it, you have a garden with a wall around it, and there's one gate in the wall. And these companies have control over the gate, so they can decide who can come in and go out. And if you go in, and they let you in, then you can have a nice garden with some flowers, have good times with your friends. But when you try to leave, they can decide what you can take with you out of the gate, which is usually nothing. So you can leave whenever you want, but the penalty is very high because you can't see your friends anymore, and you lose all your flowers. I don't have a slide. Yeah, there we go. All right. So as time goes on, the world gets increasingly digital with how we communicate. Depending on how I look at it, I'm in anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple thousand different text chats online. And in real life, I only talk with 3 or 4 people on a regular basis. So the vast majority of my communication is already digital. Now looking back at the history of communication, we can see an evolution here. So, it originated with one-to-one, just talking to another person, and then we moved to one-to-many. So that could be talking to your family or your whole tribe, or maybe a general talking to his army. And then about 2,500 years ago, the ancient Romans created the forum. So this is basically the first place where we could have public discourse, where people could gather in a civilized manner and debate different points, and you could go listen to them. Moving on to more modern forms of media, we have books, radio, and television. These are basically all one-to-many, but on a much bigger scale in terms of geography and across time. You can read books from 2,000 years ago. And then we moved on to the internet, as we all know, which is sort of a combination of the first 3 forms here. And then the internet gave rise to these social networks that we know. And these platforms are basically the modern equivalent of the ancient Roman forum, where public discourse happens. But unfortunately, these platforms are owned by just a couple people, so they can decide who can talk, when they can talk, and what we can talk about. This leads to a lot of problems, such as censorship. For example, Twitter removing a lot of accounts. A lot of times, they don't even give a reason why. You just lose your account, and that also means that you lose all of your content, your followers, your social graph. It's just gone, so you don't really have any control over that. These platforms also use content algorithms to determine what content we see. And a lot of times they show us upsetting content, violence or political extremism, people being mean to each other. And the purpose of this is to engage our emotions and make us spend more time on the platform. But ultimately, this is not good for our mental health and society as a whole. And then as far as content creators go, I think YouTube is the worst offender, where they can take up to 45% of a creator's ad revenue. And a creator doesn't really own their revenue stream here. You can tell YouTube, I don't want to pay 45%. And they'll say, too bad, or they might just delete your channel, and then your livelihood's gone. And so imagine if this number was 0%, or even just 1%. How many more people would be able to be content creators? We'd probably have at least twice as many. And lastly, in regards to data, Google makes around $200 a year per user from selling our data. But the way I like to think of it is that we're basically paying $200 a year to use Google, which seems kind of high to me. So that's a lot of problems here, but if we look at what a better future could look like for social networks, we have 3 points here. So freedom and autonomy, we're all adults, we're smart, we can make our own decisions. We can determine what we think is true or not. That's how people have been doing things for thousands of years. And we should be able to decide what we want to look at and what we think is true. In regards to mental health, these algorithms that I mentioned, so users should be in control of the algorithms they see. We don't have any input on the algorithms that Facebook and Twitter use and what they're showing us. And so we need to be able to control what we see so we can heal society and ourselves. And last, for content creators, like I mentioned, content creators should be able to own their revenue streams. They should not be at the whim of some other company that can determine whether or not they can monetize content or just take away their entire revenue base. So you're going to stay in the past inside the walled garden, or are you going to break the wall down and enter the field of freedom? So if we jump into a little more detail about improved social framework could look like, first and foremost is a social graph autonomy. So users need to be able to own their social graphs. All of these Web 2 walled garden problems ultimately stem from the fact that we don't own our social graphs. You can't say like, oh, Twitter does this, I don't like that, I want to leave. But if you do leave, you can't take your social graph with you, you can't take your content, it's all stuck. And so the exit fee is very high, so people don't usually leave, and we don't have a way to fight back against these problems. So a social graph autonomy, where you actually own your social graph, if one network is doing something you don't like, you can just go to a different one, and it's no problem at all. Freedom of expression, people need to be able to say what's on their mind and not be censored. Obviously, we'll still have content moderation so that you can curate things and remove illegal content and that sort of thing, but this is different than censoring. Data ownership as well. People need to be able to own their data, so you can choose to sell your data to Google for $200 a year if you want, or you can just keep it private if that's something you care about. And creators should be able to own their revenue, as I mentioned. And then algorithm transparency, so like I mentioned, people should be able to see how an algorithm works and how it's actually impacting them. And then platform governance. So if you own a share of stock in Meta, you don't really get much say in how Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram are developed. They don't have shareholder calls to say, what type of algorithm should we put in? What do you guys think about this new UI update? And so in the future, users should have a much bigger say in how a platform is developed. So that's exactly what we're doing with Subsocial. Most of these things are already built, some are still in development. So first and foremost, Subsocial is censorship resistant, so if you post something on the network, you own it, no one can take it away from you, no one can censor it. Feeless monetization methods, we already have donations. There's no fees for the recipient on that. It is on a blockchain, so if you send a donation, you will have to pay a small fee, but all of the money that you send to someone, they will get 100% of it. And then you can also invest in a creator's future. This will be using social tokens. So these are basically like stock in an individual person. So say if you discover a new content creator that doesn't have a very big follower base and you think that they're great and they're going to be really big, you can buy some of their social tokens so you can fund them in their creative efforts, and then it might pay off in the end. The algorithm marketplace is probably my favorite feature here. So basically in the future, developers will be able to make different content algorithms, and you as a user can decide whichever one you want to use. So someone could make the sunshine and rainbows algorithm, and you can use it, and you would only see sunshine, rainbows, puppies on your feed, stuff that would make your day better, instead of seeing things that will make your day worse. Of course, the social graphs that are open, that's basically what Subsocial is founded upon. All of these other things are built upon that. And then platform governance, so this will take place through the sub token. So users can have a say, and we will probably be implementing that governance 2.0 that Gavin talked about earlier as well at some point. So Subsocial is live already. We have multiple dApps running on the network. dApp is a decentralized application, and anyone can come build a dApp on Subsocial. This is different than Web 2. If you went to the Facebook headquarters and you said, hey Zuck, I don't like the way Facebook looks, I'm going to build a new user interface for it, I'd say he'd laugh at you, but he'd probably just give you that weird stare until you left. But with Subsocial, you don't have to go talk to anyone. You can just build your application, deploy it on the network, and as soon as you do, you'll have instant network effects because what the beauty of an open social graph is that the user base and the content base is shared. The hard part with building a new network is it's sort of a chicken and egg problem. How do you get users if you don't have content, but if you don't have content, you can't get users? Subsocial solves this problem for developers building new applications because as soon as you connect your application to the network, you'll already have a user base and a content base. So that's basically what we're up to. Subsocial.network is our URL. Again, I'm Zachary, the content lead. Our founder, Alex, and product marketer, Dennis, are both in Berlin, if anyone's watching over there. We also have an online booth if you're watching remote. So if you like freedom, if you would like to own your digital presence online, and you want to be one of the users of the social network of the future, I invite you to join us at Subsocial. Thank you.